Assalamualaikum students. So in the last class, we had discussed up to here. So if you remember, we had discussed all these things. Okay. So first we had discussed that there are two types of skeleton, axial and appendicular skeleton. Okay. Then we had discussed the functions of the skeletal system, why we have the skeletal system. Then we had discussed the different types of bones. These were the long bone, flat bone, irregular bone, and short bones. Then we had discussed some of the important features of the long bones, short bones, examples, flat bones, and irregular bones. Then I had shown you the axial skeleton, which includes the skull, then hyoid bone, thoracic cage, and the vertebral column. Okay, skull we discussed the different types of bones. We have frontal bone, parietal, temporal, and occipital bone. Then we had discussed the facial skeleton, facial bones, which consist of all these bones: zygomatic bone, lacrimal bone, nasal bone, then the mandible, vomer, inferior concave. All this we had discussed. Then we had discussed some of the spaces which are present around the nasal cavity, which are called as the paranasal sinuses. Then we had discussed that how the bones are joined together. Okay, that is the sutures. Then we had discussed important frontanel. There are anterior as well as the posterior frontanel. The most important is the anterior. It fuses at 1.5 to 2 years. Then we had discussed the hyoid bone, which is present in the neck, which is the only bone which is independent bone without any connection. So today we'll discuss about the thoracic cage. Okay. So as the thoracic cage, the name indicates, it is a cage, just like if we have pigeon cage. So similarly, we have a cage for the protection of the heart and the lungs. So this is called as the thoracic cage. It is made up of bones which connect and protect the heart and the lungs. As I said, it will protect the inside. There will be the heart as well as lungs. So this acts as a cage, just like the birds are protected from outside injury by the cage. Similarly, the heart and the lungs are protected by the thoracic cage. So this thoracic cage is made up of ribs. There are 12 pairs of ribs. These are the one side we have 12 and the other side we have 12. Right side 12, left side 12. So they are called as 12 pairs of ribs. Then the costal cartilage. In the front, the ribs don't come up to here, but they are connected to the sternum. This is the sternum by a cartilage called as the costal cartilage. And then we have the sternum. This is the sternum. Okay, for the attendance password, it will be 123456. 123456. Okay, this is the password. Can you see? 123456. Okay, right. Can others hear me? Hussein cannot hear me. Others, what about others?
Yes, teacher, but your sound not clear.
Not clear?
No, not clear.
Okay, let me try once again and let's see. Okay, Hussein, now it is clear. Hussein, can you hear me now? Abdul Aziz, can you hear me?
Yes, Doctor, I can hear.
Okay, that can hear, but I don't know Hussein. Then you have to check your own microphone or the speakers. Okay. Uh, okay. So as I said, the thoracic cage is made up of the ribs. These are the 12 pairs of ribs. Then in the front we have the costal cartilage, is called as the costal cartilage, and the sternum, and behind there will be the vertebrae. Okay. Coming to the ribs, that ribs are divided into three types. One is called as the true ribs, then the false rib, and the floating ribs. True ribs, false rib. Okay, good. Okay, so there are three types of ribs: true ribs, false ribs, and the floating ribs. The first seven pairs of ribs are called as true ribs. Which are the first seven? Let me show you. So if you start counting from above, this is the first rib, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seven. Up to here, these are called as true ribs, both the sides. So seven pairs, right seven, left seven. So there are seven pairs of ribs. So the first seven pairs, starting from above downwards, they are called as true ribs. Why they are called as true ribs? Because they are attached directly to the sternum. Directly means to the costal cartilage, they are attached to the sternum. So they are called as the true ribs. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. They are directly attached to the sternum. Remaining the 8, 9, 10. These are called as the false ribs. These are called as the 8, 9, and 10th are called as the false rib. Why they are called as false rib? Because they are attached indirectly to the sternum. They are not directly attached to the sternum. If you see here, so these are attached to the by the costal cartilage to this costal cartilage. So they are not directly to the so they are not directly attached to the sternum, but first they are attached to the these costal cartilage and from there to the sternum. So that's why they are called as the false rib. So the first seven pairs are directly attached to sternum. 8, 9, 10th pairs of ribs are attached indirectly to the sternum. And the last two ribs, that is the 11th and 12th, these are called as floating ribs, also called as free ribs. Why they are called so? The last two pairs, 11th and 12th ribs, number attachment of floating or free, no sternal attachment. If you see the last ribs, so if you see here, this is the 11th rib what you are seeing, and the 12th rib is very small. You cannot see from here. So the 12th rib is coming here. Okay, it is not attached to the sternum. It is floating in the front. Back it is attached to the vertebrae, but in the front they are free. If you see here, this is the 11th rib, and the 12th rib is inside. You cannot see it. It is small rib. So that those two ribs are called as the floating ribs or the free ribs. 11th and 12th rib they are called as. So the first seven, 1 to 7 pairs of ribs are called as true ribs. 8, 9, 10th are called as false ribs, and 11th and 12th are called as the floating ribs or free ribs. Free ribs because they are free, they are not attached to the sternum. So 12 pairs of ribs are present, each connect to a thoracic vertebra posteriorly. As I said, all are attached to the vertebrae, the backbone, and to the sternum anteriorly through the costal cartilage. So anteriorly, these ribs are attached to the sternum except the last two ribs. Posteriorly, they are attached to the vertebrae, the backbone, thoracic vertebra. Okay. Now coming to the parts of the ribs. What are the parts of the ribs? So if you see, the rib has a head. This is the head called as the head. This is called as the neck, the narrow part. Then this is called as the tubercle or the this is the shaft. This is called as the shaft. So first we have to see this is the head, neck, and this long part. This whole thing is called as the shaft. So it has a head, then the narrow part called as neck, then the long part, this is called as the shaft. Within the shaft, you can see some important structures. Here you can see something called as tubercle, and this is called as the costal angle. This bending, where it is bent, is called as angle. Costal means rib, angle because it is bent. Then inside we can see there is a groove here. This is called as the costal groove. So mainly you should know the head, neck, and the shaft of the rib. Okay, so this is the head of the rib, this is the neck and the shaft. Okay, now coming to the sternum. Where is sternum? As we saw before, so this is the sternum. This one is the sternum, the most anterior bone which is present in the front. So that is called as the sternum. So this is the sternum. So fusion of three bones. This sternum is made up of three bones actually. Okay. So the upper part is called as the manubrium sterni. The top is called as the manubrium. The middle part, this is called as the body, and the lower part, this is called as the xiphoid process. So this is the front view. This is from the side. If you see from the side, so these are the sides where the ribs are attached. Okay, here that ribs are attached. So this is how it looks like. So this is the side view from the side. This is the front view of the sternum. So it has three parts: manubrium, body, and the xiphoid process. Should practice these names. Their names are a little difficult initially, so you have to practice these names so that it can become easy for you. Okay. So sternum has three parts. This is the bone called as sternum. Sternum has three parts: the manubrium, the body, and the xiphoid process. Coming to the location of the for the attachment of ribs, as I showed you, this is the attachment for the ribs side. Yeah, so this is how it is attached on the sides. This is the side where the ribs are attached, surrounded by the costal cartilage. So the ribs don't come directly, but they are attached by the costal cartilage here. Okay, so this is the sternum, which has three parts. Now coming to the backbone. Backbone, it is also called as the vertebral column. Vertebral column. So this is the vertebral column. All the bones of the back, these are called as the vertebra. Originally, there are 33 vertebrae. There are 33 vertebrae from above downwards. So the upper one, these are called as the cervical vertebra. These are the neck. This is the bones of the neck. These are called as the cervical vertebrae. Then in the thoracic region where the ribs are attached, this is called as the thoracic vertebra. Then below that we have the lumbar, and this is called as the sacrum, and this is called as the coccygeal vertebra. Coccygeal vertebra. Okay. So this is the front and this is the back. Okay. So these are the cervical are seven bones in the neck. In the neck, cervical means neck. So there are seven vertebrae in the neck. Thoracic, there are 12. 12. One starting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 up to 12. Then lumbar, 5, 1 to 5. Okay. Sacrum, there are also 1 to 5. And the coccyx, 1 to 4. 1 to 4. Coccyx. So originally there are 33 vertebrae. In case of adult, 24 it becomes 24. How? By inferior 9 fuse forming the sacrum. If you see here, 5 sacral vertebrae have fused together to form the sacrum. Now it is called as a single bone sacrum. It actually has 5 vertebrae like this. Same vertebrae are joined. Similarly, the tailbone, here is the tail. This is called as the coccyx. There are 4 small bones here, okay, which are again fused together. So they all fuse together, then that's why it becomes 24. If not, there are actually 33 vertebrae: 7 cervical, 12 thoracic, 5 lumbar, 5 sacral, and 4 coccygeal. Now coming to the, as I said, some details about this, the backbone. Okay. So the vertebral column forms 33 vertebrae. As I said, there are 33 bones. There are 7 cervical in the neck. So they will be designated C1, C2, C3 up to C7. So these are the 7 cervical vertebrae. Then 12 thoracics, T1, T2, T4 up to T12. So these are called as the thoracic. Then 5 lumbar, L1, L2, L3, L4, L5. Then 5 sacral, which are fused together, S1, S2, S3, S4, S1. Then coccygeal. So these are called as CX, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. So totally there are 33 vertebrae. Then there are, if you see here, it is not straight. Even though it is a backbone, it is not straight, but it shows curves. So there are 2 curves important. These are called as the primary curvatures. Curvature. They are not straight. This is curvature. See like this. There is primary curvature. There is thoracic curvature. This is the thoracic, T1 to T12, and the sacral. This is the sacral curvature. Sacrum. So it shows sacral curvature. So here it is, the front is here, back is here. Okay. So when the thoracic curvature is magnified, it is called as kyphosis. When this thoracic vertebrae show more curvature like this. If you have seen, some old people are bent in the front, so that is called as the thoracic curvature is magnified. The condition is called as kyphosis. If the person is bent too much in the front, then it is called as kyphosis. Then secondary curvature like the cervical, this is also showing cervical. Then we have the lumbar curvature. When the lumbar curvature is enlarged, it is called as lordosis. If this becomes more, the person gets back. He will walk like a lord. So that's why it is called as the lordosis. Lordosis. Now coming to the typical feature, what are the parts of a vertebra? Just like we saw, the rib has three important parts: the head, neck, and the shaft. Similarly, a typical vertebra has some features. Which are those? One of the part is the body. The most important part is this is the body of the vertebra. Then we have something called as the vertebral foramen, through which the spinal cord, the extension of the brain, will pass through. This is called as the vertebral foramen. Because this is the vertebra, this foramen inside that is called as the vertebral foramen. Okay. Then there are around this vertebral foramen a part coming from here. This is called as the pedicle. Pedicle. And here this is called as the lamina. Pedicle and lamina. And the most posterior part, which comes like a spine, this is called as the spinous process. Spinous process, if you see here, spinous process. And then we have the transverse process on either side. If you see here, this is called as the transverse process on either side. So here is the body, this is the side view: body, transverse process, spinous process. Then we have, this is called as the pedicle, and this is called as the lamina. Lamina. So these are the some of the parts, and this opening, this hole, this is called as the vertebral foramen. This is important because here the spinal cord, the extension of the brain, will be present here. Okay. So these are the structures of a typical vertebra. Typical vertebra. Now coming to the cervical vertebra. What do you mean by cervical vertebra? Cervical means in the neck. These are the cervical vertebrae in the neck. Okay, so they are designated by C1, C2, C4, C5, C6, C7. Seven cervical vertebrae. The first and second are very important. They have typical features. C1, it is called as atlas, and C2 is called as axis vertebra. There are two vertebrae, important vertebrae. This is how the cervical vertebra will look like. Okay. So here also you can see same like here. So this is the body. So the body is much more oval here. So this is the smallest cervical vertebrae. These are the smallest. Transverse process have foramen. So if you see in the transverse process, usually there is no foramen here, but here there is a foramen. Not only this vertebral foramen, but also here this is transverse. Only in the cervical. This is how you can identify the cervical vertebrae. Then the spinous process is bifid. This spinous process here, the spine is just one, single one. But in case of the cervical, in the neck, they are divided. This is called as bifid. Bifid or four. Except for the last cervical, all cervical vertebrae have this spinous process, which is bifid. Then the typical feature is the transverse foramen. Other features are same. Body is the vertebral foramen. This is called as pedicle. This is called as laminae. This is the transverse process here. Okay, so all these are there, but only the spinous process is there. Then transverse foramen is present in the cervical vertebra. So this is present in the neck as I said. Okay, so this is the feature of a typical cervical vertebra. One in the front, we have the spine, which is bifid. Then we have the vertebral arch. This is called as the vertebral arch on either side. Then we have the articular facet. Then we have the transverse foramen or foramen transversarium. This one, fourth. Then the body. This is the body here. Then the criteria. How do you identify the cervical vertebra? The body is small in case of the cervical vertebra. Then the vertebral column is triangular. Vertebral canal is triangular in shape and wide, because in the upper part the spinal cord is much more larger, so it is broader, wider. Then we have the spine, which is bifid, short, and the foramen transverse present in the transverse process. This is the transverse foramen. Okay. Now coming to the thoracic vertebra, from T1 to T12. There are heart shape. This is how they look like. These are the vertebrae. Today morning you saw these are the thoracic vertebra, which are present in the thoracic area. These are the thoracic vertebra. And if you see the body, it will be, this is how it looks like. It is heart shaped body. The spinous process are long, sharp, and directed downwards. If you see here, the spinous process are long as well as sharp and directed downwards. If you see here, they are long and they are directed downwards. So this is how it looks like. If you see here, this spine. So the body, if you see here, it is heart shaped. This is the body of the vertebra. Then vertebral canal is circular. In case of cervical, it was triangular here. It was triangle. But in case of the thoracic region, it is rounded. The spine is long. If you see here, this is the spine directed downwards. Okay, long and pointing downwards. Then we have the presence of costal facets for the ribs. For the ribs to get attached, you can see here there are small costal facets. Okay, these are called as where the rib is attached. That is called as the costal. Costa means, as we said before, rib. So it is attached here. So there will be at sides where this will be attached. There are markings. Okay, this is how we can identify the thoracic vertebra. Then atypical vertebra 11th and 12th. Okay. Most of the vertebrae look like this. Now coming to the lumbar vertebra L1 to L5. L1 to L5. So these are the lumbar vertebrae. They are massive block-like bodies, huge bodies here. Spinous process short, thick and broad and directed downward. You see here the spinous process. Here it was long and narrow and directed downward, but here it is thick and short. Okay, this is how we can identify the lumbar vertebra. Here there are some important features. Then the transverse process, if you see here, it is short. Then the pedicle, so here is the pedicle, and the body is large here, very big, and the vertebral canal is very small, oval shape. Okay, so the body is large, very large, and the vertebral canal is again becoming triangular or oval in shape. Spine become quadrangular. This is the spine, it becomes short and quadrangular. Okay, transverse process slender and short. Transverse process short. So this is how a typical lumbar vertebra will look like. Now coming to the sacrum. This is the sacrum here. So the 5 sacral vertebrae are fused here, and here these are the coccyx. The 4 coccyx are fused here. So these are the 9 vertebrae which are fused. Okay, so here you can see here the sacrum. So one of the important feature of the sacrum is, you can see here, this is called as the sacral promontory. So this is the sacrum here. So this part is called as the sacral promontory. Then we have the transverse ridges. Then you can see here, these are the anterior sacral foramen, and from behind, this is the picture from seen from behind. This is the posterior sacral foramen, and here you can see these are spines are all fused together to form the median sacral crest. Okay. Then below there is a space, this is called as the sacral hiatus. Then the lateral part, this is called as the ala of the sacrum. Ala. So this is the promontory, and this is called as the ala of the sacrum. Then this part here, there are 4 bones which are all fused together. This is called as the coccyx bones. CX1, 2, 3, and 4. So they are all fused together. So this is the sacrum and the coccyx. This is the sacrum, and this is the coccyx. So this is from the first lecture. Now we'll go to we'll start with the second lecture, which is the continuation of the first lecture. Okay. So now we will Okay, now you can see, now we are talking about the appendicular. This was all about the axial skeleton from the skull, then the backbone, that is the vertebral column, then the thoracic cage, which includes the ribs and the sternum. Now we are going to the appendicular skeleton. Appendicular skeleton means the skeleton which is on the sides. This is the appendicular skeleton, which involves the bones of the upper limb and the lower limb. This is called as the upper limb, and this is called as the lower limb. So this is the upper limb and this is the lower limb. Okay. So this is the bones of the upper limb and lower limb. This is called as the appendicular skeleton, which is not in the center. So appendicular skeleton consists of the shoulder girdle and the bones of the upper limb. So this is called as the pectoral girdle or the shoulder girdle and the bones of the upper limb. These are the bones, all these are the bones. Similarly, in case of the lower limb, we have the pelvic girdle here. This is the pelvic girdle and the bones of the lower limb. These are the bones of the lower limb. So we'll go one by one. What are the bones of the upper limb, and then we'll go to the bones of the lower limb. Now, in the upper limb, as I said, there is shoulder girdle as well as bones of the upper limb. So what is the shoulder girdle? Or it is also called as the pectoral girdle. So this pectoral girdle or the shoulder girdle consists of two bones. One is called as the clavicle and the scapula. There are two bones here. So one is this is the clavicle and this is the scapula. These are two bones together. This forms the shoulder girdle. So if you see the clavicle, it is also called as the collarbone. It has two ends, sternal end and the acromial end. I will show you. So this is the picture of the clavicle. Okay. So this has sternal end. This is the sternal end. This is called as the acromial end, or it is also called as the medial end. Okay. The lateral end. Sorry. Okay. The sternal end and the acromial end. Sternal end articulates medially with the sternum. Okay. So, let me show you here. So this is the sternal end going and articulating with the sternum here. This is the lateral end articulating with the acromion of the scapula. Okay. So the sternal end and the acromial end. Sternal end articulates medially with the manibrum sterni. Lateral end, as I showed, articulates with the acromion of the scapula. This is called as the acromion of the, with the scapula bone here, acromion of the scapula. So the clavicle will articulate with the acromion process. So that's why it is called as the acromial end. Now coming to the scapula, there is the scapula here. It is also called as the shoulder blade. Just like the clavicle is called as the collarbone, the scapula is called as the shoulder blade. So this has three borders, three angles, three process and three foci. Three borders, which are those? There are three borders. There is superior border. This is the superior border here. This is the scapula here, which is also called as the shoulder blade. It has three borders. This is the superior border. Then we have the medial border. So this is called as the medial border, which is also called a vertebral border. Then this is called as the lateral border. This is the lateral. This is the superior border, this is the medial border, and this is the lateral border. Then three angles. Which are those? This is called as the superior angle. This is the inferior angle, and this is called as the lateral angle. Lateral angle, it is covered by glenoid cavity. So lateral is covered by the glenoid cavity. So three borders, three angles. Then three processes. Which are those? One is called as the acromion process. This is acromion process. Then we have one more. This is called as the coracoid process. Okay. Then we have the spinous process. This is called as the spinous process. Okay. So acromial process, coracoid process, as well as the spinous process. Then three fossa, three spaces. Where are they? One is called as the, what is above the spine? This is called as the supraspinatus fossa. Supraspinatus fossa, or the supraspinous fossa. This part below that spine, this is called as the infraspine. Infra means below, supra means above, so above the spine, so it is called as supraspine. Infra means below, so infraspinal space is below the spine. Then subscapularis, if you see on the other side, opposite side, then that is called as the subscapularis. So there are three borders, three angles, three process, and three forces. Okay. So this is about the scapula or the shoulder blade. So now coming to the clavicle. Clavicle, so this is the clavicle here. So it articulates medially with the manubrum of the sternum, which forms the sternoclavicular joint, and laterally with the acromion of the scapula, which is also called as the acromioclavicular joint. Okay, so it forms the two joints. I will show you all these details when you attain the laps. Okay, so don't miss laps whenever you have labs. Please attend on Sundays, especially Hussein. You did not attend even a single lab. Please come over to Riyadh and start attending the labs. Don't miss the lab, because here lecture in the lecture I might not show you all the details. Yeah, it is not possible for here. Okay, if you are in front of me, then I can explain this all these parts in detail. I will take each bone and I will explain those. Okay, so please don't miss the labs. Please attend the labs. Labs are very important to understand the lecture. So same thing what you are studying here, there it will be demonstrated. So don't miss the labs. Okay. So coming to the scapula. Scapula is a flat triangular shaped bone. This is the scapula. Then it has a glenoid cavity. If you see here, this is called as the glenoid cavity, which articulates with the head of the humerus. Humerus is the long bone of the arm. Okay, shoulder, which form the shoulder joint here. Then acromion articulates with the clavicle. This acromion here will be the clavicle, which form the acromioclavicular joint. So there are two important joints here. One is acromioclavicular joint and the shoulder joint. Okay. Then the clavicle and the scapula are known as shoulder or pectoral girdle. So the scapula and the clavicle together they form the shoulder or the pectoral girdle. Okay. Now we'll stop here. We'll go to the bones of the upper limb. We'll go to the upper limb as well as the bones of the lower limb in the next class, which is on Tuesday. Okay. So this is all about this lecture here. But again, once again, I repeat, please do not miss the labs. Do not miss the labs, because there I will be demonstrating all the details. Whatever I say here, I will be showing you.